This is Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, the viewer's guide to genre television for the weeks of December 14th, 2024 to January 3rd, 2025.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Batchelder.
I'm Wendy Hembrock.
And I'm Brent Barrett.
All right. And we are excited here, recording our first show here in 2025. Lots of fun stuff to come on this episode and in 2025 as well. To let you folks know that we will be, as we've mentioned, starting our poll for the best genre shows of 2024 on our Discord. So that's about to get ready to kick off. So those of you already on Discord, you'll be seeing it soon. And for others, now might be a perfect time to join.
Indeed. Great way to start off the new year by joining Discord.
Yeah, I'll wait till a couple days after this episode comes out to give people time to go there and not miss any of the polls.
Yep. You want to be there from the start, folks. That's part of the fun when we do these. All right. And we also wanted to put a shout out and a thank you to listener Martin for sending in a donation to us via PayPal. We do have links on the website to do that if you want to help us cover some of our costs. So not necessary, but always appreciated. So again, thank you very much, Martin.
Yes, Martin, that was a lovely end of year gift to get from you. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Martin. And as folks may or may not know, we don't charge for this. Obviously, we don't have advertising. We do it for the love of this. We all enjoy doing this, but it does cost money. We do have to pay for hosting and that sort of thing. So we really appreciate those donations. I want to, once again, thank you, Martin.
Yep. And if you use our Amazon affiliate links off of our webpage, that helps us too.
Absolutely. Same way. Helps to fund some of our occasional contests directly. So always appreciate everyone doing what they can there. All right, let's get ready to jump into our fun and move over to our spoiler-free water cooler.
Technorama, the podcast for geeks, because geeks are better than cool. You don't hear someone say, "Get away from me, you cool person." Who's gonna have their 65-inch home theater system installed by the Cool Squad? Not me, that's for sure. How much cool cred do you have? Not enough to care about. Think you'll find any canned unicorn meat at thinkcool.com? It's just a part domain name. They don't even have roadkill in a paper cup. That's why you need to start listening to Technorama, because that's what geeks do. Go to chuckchat.com and listen to Technorama before you turn cool.
Up first, as we do, we're going to do our quick reviews where we rate the shows with the ratings such as watch it now, watch it soon, let it sit, or you can skip it. And we're going to be covering shows that aired between December the 14th and January the 3rd. First one to mention is going to be Skeleton Crew. Got a few eps since it's been a few weeks since we recorded. So we're in season 1. We have episode 4. Can't say I remember no out of 10.
He doesn't watch the show, guys.
Yep.
That's good. I was just about to add, and you can tell I'm not watching, probably by the way I did that. Episode 5, you have a lot to learn about pirates. And episode 6, Zero Friends Again. And as became very obvious, I am not watching.
But I am, and I can't say I remember no neither. Very excellent episode. I would give that a low watch it now. The number 5, probably a high watch it soon, and the most recent one, probably almost a low watch it now.
Yeah, I'm going to go actually on, can't remember no at and I'm going to go high watch it soon, very close to a low watch it now. I think you have a lot to learn about pirates was a watch it now for me. And Zero Friends Again, I just loved the what we learned about these characters. I give it a watch it now as well.
Very strong. Good to hear. All right, next show we have the 2-part Christmas episode for Ghosts. So it's season 4, episode 8. A very Akandar Christmas, part 1, and part 2. And I thought these were a ton of fun. This was great to have a double episode for Christmas. I'd give them very high, watch it soon.
I would give them a watch it now. I enjoyed these a lot. Perfect for Christmas.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you, Kevin. High watch it soon. They were fun.
Alrighty, we also have Star Trek Lower Decks, the series finale episode. So it's season 5, episode 10, The New Next Generation. Not one I watch.
This was great. I would give it a watch it now.
Yeah, totally agree. Watch it now.
We also got the drop of season 3 of What If? I'm not watching.
I enjoyed this. This was also the first time I kind of watched everything straight through. And there was some real gems in here, which I think we'll talk about in the back porch. Overall, I would give it a very high watch it soon, but there were definitely some watch it now episodes in there.
Yeah, I kind of concur a bit, although I'm a little higher. I think it overall started out kind of in the watch it soon category, but it ended with a high watch it now, I think. Made me cry. So I'd give the whole season a low watch it now.
Alrighty, and we also had the Doctor Who Christmas episode. Great to have it on Christmas again. So it is Joy to the World. I enjoyed this one, but I don't know, not quite as much as I wanted to. So I just say it's a solid watch it soon.
Oh, I really like this one. I thought it was sweet. I'd give it a low watch it now.
Yeah, I went into it with low expectations, but came away thinking it was really good. I'd go high watch it soon, right between you two.
All right. We also had some episodes for Dune Prophecy, finishing out its first season. Episode 5, In Blood, Truth. And episode 6, The High-Handed Enemy. Not one I watch.
I am watching this. I would give them both a high watch it soon.
And I'm not watching either.
And our final show to quick review is Silo. We're in season 2, episode 6, Barricades. Episode 7, The Dive. And episode 8, The Book of Quinn. I'm not currently watching.
I am watching. This is a very compelling series in season 2. They've got the momentum correct in season 2, much more so than season 1. It was a little slow. I'm going to go kind of across the board as all very high watch it soon, and maybe the most recent one tips over into low watch it now.
I don't have access to it, so I'm not watching yet.
All right. Moving into some listener feedback and news items. We actually have several listener voicemails, which is always a ton of fun. First one we're going to share here is a voicemail from Jay in Massachusetts talking about the wish list tuner minute.
My wish list, or at least something I'm going to try to accomplish myself, I'm probably going to at least register for a couple months on Netflix so that I can see some of the stuff that I want to see on there. A lot of it is non-genre, but Wednesday and Star Trek Prodigy are definitely genre shows, so I guess I would be adding more genre shows to my list of stuff to watch. Another wish list is, instead of a creator rolling out new or redone product, I'm hoping J. Michael Straczynski decides he already did Babylon 5 correct the first time around. He doesn't need to do it again, and certainly not for a fly-by-night network like the CW with their new, incredibly bad owners. Beyond that, I'm just kind of hoping I get to watch everything that I already know about, and if there's something that new comes along, I will try to check those out too. And who knows, maybe I'll even give Kevin a Christmas present, and if I do get Netflix, I'll try to watch that Arcane show, at least give it a try, just so he will stop posting about it. So, but beyond that, I mean, wish list pretty simple, Netflix and catching up on the stuff that I've already got is pretty good by me. So thanks, guys, and hope everyone has a great holiday.
Hey, thanks, Jay. It's great to hear from you. Yes, definitely when you get your Netflix, watch Wednesday as a high priority. If you haven't watched Dark, I would put that one on the list. And definitely put Arcane on the list. Give it a try. Kevin isn't crazy when he posts about how good the show is. So hopefully you'll enjoy your period of Netflix. Great point about JMS and doing Babylon 5 again with probably the wrong partner in whatever the CW is now. I will be curious to see if that thing ever actually goes forward now. That was a great call out that maybe that's something we wish we don't get. So great to hear from you. Thank you.
Thanks for the voicemail, Jay. Yeah, I'm not going to get started on Babylon 5. You don't want me to get started on that. But it's been great hearing you or reading your chat about getting Netflix on our Discord. We've had a lot of discussions there. Again, folks, if you're on a Discord, get over there. And yeah, Wendy's right. Wednesday's a great one. We talked about Stranger Things. I know you said you weren't really into that, but it is kind of worth it if you have the time. So hopefully you'll check that out too.
Yeah, love the voicemail, Jay, and also your posts over on our Discord and folks jumping in to give you some suggestions, while you've got Netflix. I think I mentioned this on Discord, but also I would recommend The Witcher if you got some time with the shows you're going to be picking up on there. And knowing that you, are following me on multiple social media platforms, yes, I have been very vigilant and talkative about Arcane there. So if you do watch, give us some quick feedback, let us know, and I'm glad I make an impression.
Yeah, Kevin is a definite Arcane advocate on our Discord. It was also nice on Discord to see some comments about this Tuner Minute. In fact, I'll say maybe they influenced my choice for Hall of Fame a little bit as a teaser. I love to see the support for seeing some Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy in the future, featuring live action with Margot Robbie. We've obviously, Brent and I both really like Harley Quinn, the animated series on Max. Also potentially Karen Gillian someday playing Poison Ivy. Also liked that we've got some folks committing to watching more anime, which was very interesting. One person's wish already came true. Orville season 4 is filming now, so it's coming back. And also, there was one shout out. I'm going to forget who posted it, but it was, pleading that Chopper, the character, is well done in One Piece season 2. And, want to give that a bump. Love the Chopper character. Thanks everybody for all your comments.
Good stuff. All right. The next listener feedback item we have is from Yoga Bond from Colorado, talking about a handful of Apple TV shows.
Just wanted to mention that Silo really grows on you. It's a good apocalyptic story, kind of I found it pretty interesting. So interesting that after watching the first season, I went ahead and ordered the book that it was based on and read the book. And the book goes beyond the first season a little bit, so I kind of know what's happening in season 2. So I'm saving season 2 so I can kind of binge it all at once. I really do enjoy it. It's got a nice, strong female lead who's smart, and I like that. I think if you guys give that one a chance, you may end up liking it. Some pretty good sci-fi in that. And then I wanted to say a little shout out to The Expanse. The books are phenomenal. The authors are great writers, and it's a pair. It's not just Frank, but I forgot the other guy's name, but it's their initials kind of put together. So they wrote the whole series. The Expanse series was a really great series, and it had novellas and everything, a really rich universe. I think that there was a little bit of pacing suffering in the first couple seasons, but man, some amazing characters and some truly interesting epic storylines in that story that go beyond where the series on TV went. So I don't know that I'll ever address it because it's like a 30 years flash forward kind of basically in the last couple of books, 3 books, I think. Anyway, just a shout out for that, and another shout out too on Apple TV Plus for Severance. It's coming back, and I'm terribly excited and can't wait. That is a really amazing show. It's very cerebral, but it is, and it's got all these cool themes running through it of, what would you do if you were grieving? Would you want your mind to be severed? There's that component of it. There's, people serving dual roles and you're trying to figure out exactly what they are. So there's some good mysteries to it. And there's an episode in the first season that just had you on the edge of your seat. And it was just like, everybody who watches that episode, it's like, oh my God, it has to do with, a baby in the story, but it's really good. I don't want to give too much away. I want you to watch it. I want to encourage people to try it out and listen to the Severed podcast by Mark S. It's Alan S. rather. It is a fantastic podcast, and I've missed you guys. I hope to hear more from you going forward, and just wanted to give a shout out for Apple Plus. I think For All Mankind also is a good alternate reality TV show that left it in an interesting place, so I'd like to see where they go with the next season. So there's some good stuff out there on Apple Plus TV, Kevin, so give her a go. I wish you guys all the best and a Happy New Year.
Thank you very much, Bonita, for that. Appreciate it. Based on what you just said and what Wendy said about Silo, that's a show I want to check out. And Severance sounds interesting. A lot of people are talking about that. For All Mankind, I don't know. And The Expanse, I've tried. But there's a free period coming up for Apple Plus, for Apple TV Plus. And maybe Kevin has more details. I don't remember. But coming up, and I was thinking about maybe checking out a couple of the shows that I've wanted to check out that I haven't had a chance to yet. So appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
Yes, great to hear from you. It's always fun to see you at DragonCon every year as well, too. And as far as the Apple TV Plus free period, by the time you folks hear this, it'll be over because it's actually this weekend, January the 4th and 5th, that's going on. And it's interesting that at least they are doing that now. I know some of the other channels do that periodically, but Apple kind of hasn't. So maybe that's the start of something good. But all the comments on the different shows, I definitely will be grabbing Apple TV Plus sometime soonish, I think, since there's not a lot of new shows I'm interested in the next couple of months. And I'm kind of putting together a list for that reason. It's been great, the conversations on Discord, too. So thank you very much, Bonita.
Bonita, Happy New Year, and thank you for your comments. I appreciate your comments about Silo the books because I've been muddling, possibly reading those, as well as you're another person who read the Expanse books and talks about how, that was quite a challenge to adapt that because it is a very large universe over a time period. And you actually gave me a reason to maybe try again on Severance. I might have dropped out too soon. But when you said there's a Edge of the Seat episode that features a baby, that might be enough for me to try to get to that one. So appreciate all your comments, and hopefully we'll hear from you again soon.
All right, and our final listener feedback item for this episode, we've got one here from Jesse Jackson in Dallas, Texas, talking about Arcane.
Kevin, are you okay? You're watching an animated show. Isn't that a clue that you've been kidnapped and this is a signal to show that you're being held against your will? Oh, sorry. I have not watched Arcane, but if all three of you like it, I guess going back to that tuner minute, it goes to the top of my list. Hopefully I can get a quick thoughts into you after I watch a couple episodes as part 2 of this voicemail. Hope you had a great holiday, and let's look for a great 2025.
Thank you, Jesse, and very much for you and all the listeners, hoping we all have a great 2025. But no, I have not been kidnapped. It definitely was, a monumental moment for me, not only giving it a shot, but also loving it completely to have the eyes opened a bit. So, yes, please do. I know you've got a long list of shows to watch. If you do, please, after you watch the first 3, we'd love to hear your thoughts on that, very much so. So always appreciate you checking in with us, Jesse.
Jesse, Happy New Year. Thank you for your call. I'm hoping that you and Linda have a great 2025. Definitely check out Arcane, and as Kevin recommended, this is structured in like sort of 3-episode chapters, so at least watch the first 3. And we would love to hear your thoughts on this show. I think you're going to really like it.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. And yeah, we'd like to hear your thoughts as well, definitely. And you've cracked our secret. We did kidnap Kevin. We've let him go, though, because after he watched the show, he's been brainwashed, so we've let him go.
Always having fun on that side, and I always appreciate that. All right, let's move into some news items, mostly some good news this particular podcast, which is always great to see. Wendy's going to start us off talking a little bit about Silo.
Yeah, Silo has been renewed for Apple Plus for a season 3 and a season 4, which will bring the show to its conclusion. And as Bonita mentioned, the show is adapted from some books, and it's based on the Silo trilogy of books by Hugh Howey. And Wool, the first book, is actually the events of season 1 and season 2. So Shift and Dust are the other 2 books, and they'll be represented in seasons 3 and 4. And Graham Yost said, it's going to be like the books, but a little bit different. So expect there to be some twists and turns. But this is great news. As far as I can tell, it's been very successful for Apple, based purely on its position. Every time I open up the browser or the Roku page to Apple Plus, it's got Silo as the number 1 or the number 2 every week. And I'm definitely excited to see a new episode every time it drops. So it sounds like a lot of other viewers are as well. And we're going to get a completed story, which is very exciting.
Yeah, that's great news. Like I mentioned before, Silo is a show that Wendy and other people have been talking about that got me interested in checking it out. And, I might just check it out this weekend with the free Apple, well, so far. There's another season and 2 seasons coming, which is great, knowing that they're going to have given a chance to tell the whole story, which is just even more reason why I want to check this out. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I just love that fact that the renewal is done with a specific amount of seasons and giving them a chance to write to an end for something that folks have been enjoying and I've been seeing great comments about. So with so many times hearing some other shows getting, dropped after a single season, it's great when it's being supported that way. So this was great to see. Yeah,
and just, a caution to you, Brent, that this is a show that's slow going to start. But I would say I want to say halfway through, that's when a particular character really emerges and starts really becoming the center of the story, and it gets really compelling after that.
Yeah, thanks. You mentioned that before, being slow. So I had always anticipated kind of having it as one of my background shows that I do sometimes when I have a slow show I want to watch, and until it gets really exciting, then I'll pay more attention to it.
Good.
All right, next, Brent's got some good news about Secret Level.
Yeah, Secret Level. This is that awesome show that we just heard about very recently from Amazon, and I checked it out. I watched it. I'm a gamer. I like video games, and this is a show that is from the people who did Love and Robots. It's an animated anthology. Animated / photorealistic. I mean, there's some episodes where you'd swear it was actual actors, but it's all CGI / animated. And the episodes were really great. I enjoyed them all. There were, some were better than others, but I enjoyed them all. And so I was really excited about this, and also excited to hear that Amazon has decided to renew it for another season. Apparently all the gamers out there decided to come watch because while Amazon isn't giving any numbers, they do say it's their most watched animated series of all time in the first week, which is, obviously that's a big deal for them. And some third-party folks who try to track that stuff estimate that roughly 1.4 million views, per episode, basically. 1.4 million views is basically what happened for that show, which is just amazing. There's 155.3 million minutes watched in the U.S., so apparently it's very popular. So I'm really glad to see that it's coming back for another season. There are a lot of video games that fans of those video games watched this and said, how come my game wasn't there? You should do one about this. You should do one about that. Maybe we'll get that in season 2.
Yeah, this one has been fun for me just to keep an eye on social media with folks in my circles talking about specific episodes in the sense that, you know, there's different people that I'm friends with who like Brent are gamers to some degree, and they were talking about the episode about this game, or someone else was talking about the episode about that game, and you could tell how much it was resonating with folks. So this is great to see that it's going to be renewed, and as Brent just speculated, that they'll, I'm going to guess, start going wider, maybe bringing in some other ones. So good to see.
Yeah, this is interesting news about how people have responded, not just to the shows that they already knew and liked, but, you know, exposure to new stuff. And I would assume these games are also hoping that there'll be tremendous crossover the other way. So folks watch something in this kind of anthology that, you know, they'll get interested in the games as well. So, yeah, it's a great synergy.
And to complete the trilogy of good news, if you will, for shows, folks, link in the show notes to let you know that Dune Prophecy has also been renewed. So always good when we get positive news for our shows. So link in the show notes to a Deadline article basically saying that just before the finale had aired here in December, they announced that it would be returning for a season 2. No idea of timeline on that, obviously. This is a show Wendy knows best of us here that, you know, has a lot involved in creating it. So, but great to know that if you're fans, you're definitely going to be getting a season 2 at least.
Yeah, especially the way that season 1 ended. It paid off some big questions that have been introduced in the story. So it is nice to know that we're going to get some more of it, although I honestly am not sure how much more story there is that isn't kind of rinse and repeat potentially. But, you know, I really like the 2 leads, Emily Watson and Olivia Williams, who play the 2 sisters who are the Bene Gesserits in charge, I'll say. So I'm definitely interested in seeing more. However, season 1 was definitely not perfect. And from a story perspective, I'd be very curious where the story's going in season 2 and what could possibly be beyond the obvious stuff from season 1 that might make me want to watch maybe a season 3.
Once again, great news for fans of the show. This isn't a show that really has clicked with me, at least from all the descriptions I've been seeing in the trailers. So probably won't be watching, but I'm really glad that people who are enjoying it are going to get another season.
And hopefully they'll take Wendy's notes under advisement.
Well, I think my comments are not unrepresentative of others. Certainly our Discord, you know, folks have had, you know, some critique of season 1 for sure.
All righty. Moving on to some other news items. Wendy's got some intriguing stuff for Doctor Who.
Yeah, we got a link in the show notes to what is described as a teaser for what they're calling season 2, which is the second season with our doctor played by Ncuti Gatwa. It's fun. We get to see our Ruby Rose and her mother, her biological mother. So we know she'll be around. We also see another person who I'm guessing is going to be a companion for some period of time. And other than that, not much in terms of plot is revealed. It's definitely a teaser, but it's coming in 2025, which could mean anything. It could mean 11 months from now. Hopefully not quite that far away. But good to see the Doctor coming back.
Yeah, this was fun. Coming after the, you know, like I said, I had low expectations going into the Christmas special. I don't know why. Maybe because last season I didn't think was the greatest, but the Christmas special was pretty cool. Seeing this was pretty nice. I was kind of hoping that the hotel manager from the Christmas special would be his companion, but she's got another job, so I guess she's not. But yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to this second season on Disney Plus, as they're calling it now, season 2, like you said. Really season like, I don't know, 30 or something. But yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, as Wendy said, this was a good teaser, which is not just the name on it in the sense of gave me a smile and seeing a little bit, nothing concrete, but again, enough that, I do want to see where they go next and who is going to be joining the Doctor on that. And I was in line a bit with Brent in terms of some hopes to see a little more of that character, but I guess not. But that's okay. I mean, they've done a good job of making it interesting. So I want to see kind of what happens next in terms of who's joining the Doctor.
Yeah, I'm definitely giving it a lot of positive vibes coming off of that Christmas special too.
All right, Brent's going to share some info about Star Trek Lower Decks.
Yeah, I just wanted to share a link to, they posted on YouTube, The Ready Room, which is the Will Wheaton show after Star Trek episodes are aired for various shows. He interviews the main four cast, Tawny Newsome, Jack Quaid, Noel Wells, and Eugene Cordero, who play our four heroes, our Lower Deckers. And I just wanted to share the link and say that it's a really wonderful, entertaining, short interview, panel interview, essentially. Where they also point out, the cast does, that they thought it was a great full circle moment because Will Wheaton is the one who first talked to them when the first episode of the first season aired and welcomed them to the Star Trek universe, welcomed them to Star Trek, and they wanted to thank him for that too. So it's a really cool panel interview, and I recommend it. If you watch this show and you want to hear what these actors have to say about their experiences and their characters.
Oh, that's excellent to see. I mean, not necessarily when I'm watching, but always good when we get some behind the scenes info. And I don't know if we reported on it yet, now come to think of it, but I do know they mentioned that the Ready Room was being retired. So good, they got a chance to still do it for the Lower Decks finale.
Yeah, this was great. I will be the first one to say that sometimes Will Wheaton gets a little bit too fanboy for me, but this was the right amount for the Lower Decks cast and crew, and it was a great send-off for this series. So I really enjoyed it. If you like Lower Decks, I would definitely check it out. I have to tell you a funny little anecdote. One of my neighbors was talking to them about genre shows, and I was recommending Lower Decks because, and similar to Kevin, was like, it's a cartoon. It can't be for adults. And I'm like, just watch it. And, definitely got them hooked. I'd have similar to, we were just talking about the wonderful glow of a good episode for Christmas of Doctor Who. We have a very good finale for Lower Decks, which gives kind of a positive halo over the whole show.
All right, and finishing out news items for this podcast. Wanted to let you know, link in the show notes, but it's mainly just to the Roku channel's website to let you know that with all of our discussions about Severance, that actually season 1 of Severance is now available on the Roku channel, which is a free ad-supported channel. So if you are interested in Severance, trying it out, and don't have Apple TV Plus, you at least can go to the Roku channel, either web-based or one of the apps on your, obviously, Roku devices or smart TVs, to check out season 1. The only thing on there it says is that it's going to be there for a limited time, whether that's a couple of weeks or several months, I have no idea, but it is there, and I think I'll probably take advantage of that since I don't have my Apple TV Plus subscription active to maybe see how this plays out.
Well, that is a great way to get exposure to something. If you don't have an opportunity for one of these, free previews or, have access to the streaming channel, that's a good idea for cross-pollination.
Yeah, it gives me hope that a lot of those shows on Apple TV Plus that I haven't been able to see that wanted to see, I've been waiting for them to be on some other platform. So it's good that they've put some of them or one season of one so far. That's good.
All right. Well, now it's time. We're going to have some fun as we do every year. Going to let Brent lead us in to talk about our Genre TV Hall of Fame inductees for 2024.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, on our website, we do have the TIST Genre Television Hall of Fame, where we induct 4 entities, we call them. It could be a person, a series, a TV universe, a technology, a concept, all sorts of things. And if you go up to our website, there is a Hall of Fame link at the top. You can check out what we have in there already. And by the way, we are asking people out there who want to write little snippets for each of them that are missing snippets. Let us know. Send us in some snippets. We would love that. We don't all have the time to go in and create the best description of or inductee text for each of the people or things. So please let us know. But each year we do this, as Kevin said, and the three of us induct something, and the listeners, you guys, induct something on our Discord or an email or however you want to send it in. We asked you last episode to send them in, and we got a bunch. And we're going to start out with our listener inductee. Our listeners have spoken, and the votes have been added up, and the winner and the inductee from the listeners for 2024 to the Genre Television Hall of Fame is Russell T. Davis. Russell T. Davis, by the way, it's spelled Davies, but he pronounces it Davis. He is, as we all know, the Doctor Who showrunner. He's the one behind the rebirth of Doctor Who when they brought it back in the 2000s. And he's back again as the showrunner. So he's responsible for a lot of the Doctor Who stuff that we love today. Torchwood, the Sarah Jane Adventures, also a TV show on in British television, I believe, called Wizards vs. Aliens that I don't think I've seen. But a lot of non-genre stuff as well. But if nothing else, the Doctor Who rebirth and guiding this ship on its journey after it came back from the ashes is worthy of inclusion in the Hall of Fame. So I think, listeners, you did a good job. You picked a good person. So thank you.
Yeah, this was a great one to see get mentioned and then end up being the selection for this year for just the reasons you said. I mean, I still have great memories of when it was announced that the show is coming back. I had only barely seen an episode here or there from childhood or whatever, so the fact that we get a proper return and they really hit it out of the park, certainly early on with the doctors and companions that were there, and it was just a great thing every week to have it there. So his work to create that and weaving in and out from writing and show running. I know not everyone's a huge fan of some of his show running of the show, but certainly he's written some of the classic eps in there and its rebirth. So big thumbs up, listeners. Great choice.
Yes, this is an excellent choice. He did a fantastic job with the reboot of Doctor Who in 2005. It had really kind of gone off of everyone's radar. And then, so much success to then generate Torchwood, which was a show we all really loved until they sent it off to Showtime. And that really was not a shining moment in the Russell Davis shows for me in particular. But I love that he's now back again as Doctor Who further evolves with this partnership with Disney, and that he's been involved. And we really liked the 60th anniversary specials that he did last year with David Tennant and Catherine Tate. And I'm really enjoying where we've been going with our latest version of the Doctor. So, he's very important in, just in Doctor Who alone. And continuing, which is very exciting.
Yeah, and I also want to thank him for bringing on my favorite Doctor Who writer, Stephen Moffat, who's responsible for such great characters as River Song. So there's that as well.
Yeah, and I'm with you there, Wendy. Early Torchwood was outstanding.
Yeah.
Yes, and also big thumbs up for Moffat. He later then became the showrunner after Davies. And, for the most part, did a really good job. But as a writer, I think he's also been just a standout contributor as well.
I have to thank Davis for that. So cool. All right. Well, I also have an inductee. We're going to go around the table. Each of us is going to introduce our inductee eventually. But for now, we're going to talk about mine, and then, of course, Kevin's, and then Wendy's. But I would like to induct a person, just similar to the listeners. My person, though, is an actor. And you probably know him as the brother of a very famous director, Ron Howard. The person I'm inducting is Clint Howard. Clint Howard has been in so much genre television. He is a wonderful character actor. Of course, as a kid, he was Baylock in season 1's The Corbomite Maneuver of Star Trek TOS, the original series. He was in DS9. He was in Enterprise, Discovery, Strange New Worlds. He's been in shows like Space Rangers, Total Recall 2070, Heroes, Fringe, a show called Life with Zombies. He was in genre adjacent stuff like From the Earth to the Moon. He was in the Outer Limits reboot in 1996. The show The Pretender that we followed here on this podcast. Bunch of TV movies, including Humanoids from the Deep and Arthur's Quest and things like that. He's been in actual genre movies as well, even though that's not really a consideration for here. But I wanted to point out he was in Splash, Cocoon, Austin Powers, the Addams Family movies, Star Wars Solo, Apollo 13, Twilight, The Wraith, The Rocketeer. Oh my God, it's a lot of horror movies like Silent Night, Deadly Night, Carnosaur, a Leprechaun, Halloween, just on and on and on. Clint Howard, everybody recognizes him when they see him. And just all that he's done to contribute to genre television in all of his character acting roles and adding a lot to a lot of our shows. I felt he was worthy of induction, so he's my inductee for 2024, Clint Howard.
Wow, great choice there, Brent. It's part of the fun for me when we're doing these Hall of Fame things, as many of you know from sports Hall of Fames and music and so forth. Sometimes you tend to see the focus on, especially in our case, where we do almost anything that can be brought in, on a specific show or a specific person, and the one thing they did that was, classic or that everyone knew about. But in this case, as you just pointed out, someone who has touched so many of our genre shows, and been able to bring characters to life distinctly in those and just see them, and it brings some credibility to another show in the future and so forth. So yeah, this was a great, kind of different approach to a nominee than I've sometimes seen, or certainly for myself sometimes when I'm looking at possible candidates to bring in. So thank you for opening the mind a bit.
I love this because I was thinking about an actor who has kind of been, a recurring face, a familiar face in a lot of genre shows, as my possible nominee. So I'm glad that you did this because I went in a different direction this year. And he's a great choice. And I totally forgot that he was in Strange New Worlds. So, he's still in very popular, relevant genre now. But as soon as you said his name, I immediately thought of that Star Trek original series because he was so creepy as that alien, kind of baby. So great choice. I love this choice.
Creepy. Yeah. Creepy Clint. I know. He's a great character actor. Yeah. Amazing. Kevin, what do you have for us?
Yes, my choice this year is going to be the series Continuum. And I suspect many, maybe most of our listeners are familiar with it, but I'm sure not all, because we're going back to a show that ran from 2012 to 2015. So it's been almost a decade since it's been on the air. Now, this is a show that originated, it's a Canadian show. I think it was showcased up in Canada before it came to the Sci-Fi Channel here like a year later. This was around the time shows like Lost Girl and some other stuff were coming out of Canada too. It's a show that ran with 42 episodes over 4 seasons, last season being a shortened season, so most of their seasons were 10 or 13. This one was created by Simon Barry, who went on to create additional shows after this one, such as Van Helsing, Ghost Wars, Warrior Nun. So certainly someone who knows what he's doing. He wrote a good portion of the episodes. And it's, to me, at the time it aired and still today, but I remember at the time believing and still thinking so, because I know we've done a couple of rewatches even here for our podcast of it, is one of the smartest sci-fi and time travel shows that we've seen. Maybe something like 12 Monkeys, maybe if you put it, up against each other, might have surpassed it in terms of its, ability to really create an awesome time travel show and smart one. But Continuum just did such a great job with a wonderful ensemble cast. I mean, Rachel Nichols as our lead was excellent. Other actors we recognized from many other shows, folks like Roger Cross, was great here, and he's been in so many. Let's Doig the same way. And, Victor Webster as, the partner for Rachel Nichols' character, Kira. He played Carlos. So this was a show that really was, for me, just one of those shows at a time back then when a lot of sci-fi stuff or genre stuff was a little more on the casual or goofy side, not very serious. This is one that did a great job where you could bring in viewers or recommend it to folks who might not be genre fans because it was smart. The writing was sharp. The storylines came together well. Really, it is very strong in that sense. And this is a show that's been hard for the last few years when conversations have been had to have folks watch it because it hasn't been streaming anywhere. And the DVDs went out of print to where, seasons were going for $40, $50 each for 10 episodes. And most folks aren't going to pay that if you haven't watched the show. So it's been great now that it's actually, as we record, available on Amazon Prime. So if you haven't seen it and are looking for a smart sci-fi show to take a look at, now's the time to jump in.
So it's so funny that you mentioned that because Continuum has popped up on my Amazon Prime. And I was thinking, wow, I haven't watched that in a while. And honestly, it made me weigh watching 12 Monkeys or Continuum as a sort of weighing which one is a higher priority to watch. This is one of the great shows. I just remember we always had such a great time talking about it every week. And it was one of the shows that we pretty much every episode we wanted to talk about. They really handled time travel in a very smart way. The character impact of time travel was handled really well. Wonderful cast led by Rachel Nichols. And you mentioned Roger Cross, who's one of my favorites, who went on to be in Dark Matter. You didn't mention Jennifer Spence, who played Betty, which was one of my favorite characters from Continuum as well, and Victor Webster. I just saw him on a very funny Hallmark Christmas movie a couple weeks ago, and as soon as I saw him, I was thinking about Continuum. So yeah, if folks have the opportunity and haven't watched Continuum, or if you did watch it way back when, it's definitely one to put back on the list to revisit or discover.
Yeah, so many great actors that have gone on to other things. This is a great choice, Kevin. As listeners to the podcast probably know, but if you don't, I'll let you know, I am a huge time travel fan. It is my number one subgenre, I guess, of science fiction. And I just adore this show. And I would not even, I know Kevin was like, maybe 12 Monkeys did it better. No, not my opinion. My opinion, Continuum is still the number one time travel show that's ever been made. I love it so much because it did it so well. It did a great job of telling an intricate but believable, understandable time travel story with a lot of emotion, a lot of characters, strong female lead. We love the shows with a strong female lead. Rachel Nichols just blew it away. I mean, gosh, I know she was probably brought in because she's very attractive and young at the time, but she just delivered great acting. Just, she could believe everything she was doing in this show and the betrayals and things that have happened at various points during the series. And discoveries and mysteries, and it was a great show. Like Wendy said, where we really like to talk about, oh my God, and we speculated like crazy with this show because this is the kind of show that, they give you a question, they give you an answer, and then they give you 10 more questions, and you're like, wait a minute, what's happening here? How is this happening? And they managed to resolve it fairly well. I mean, it's a really self-contained story. If you're looking for a great science fiction, great time travel show, watch it. This is the one that I recommended to my boss's boss at work when he found out I was on this podcast, and he would hit me up and say, what should I be watching? What should I be watching? I told him about this, and he watched it, and he loved it too. So, it's an amazing show. And Kevin, you squeaked it in. It's been on. It was on 12 years ago, and the limit is 10 years. So if something's been on more than 10 years ago or more, then it qualifies. So definitely. This show does qualify, so I'm kind of ashamed I didn't think of it, but I'm very glad that you did. Thank you.
Yep, I've actually had it on my list for several years, having to wait until it got to the right time. So that's always fun to kind of go back and check some websites and Wikipedia and remind myself on a few of the details. And get that itch to watch it again for just that reason that, it's the kind of stuff you can, like I say, as a genre fan, you can as you did, proudly say to someone, yes, you should watch this. And even if it's not the genre aspect that is going to hook them, it's just a well done drama and TV show.
All right, Wendy, what do you have for us?
So my nominee is going to be the DC comic universe. So what Brent was talking about, go back 10 years. I'm going back a lot further than that, all the way back to, Linda Carter's Wonder Woman. We've already put in as individuals, the three characters I call the original trinity of DC, Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman. But for me, I think the whole expanded universe belongs in here because of these memorable characters that have come out of those three, as well as so many great interpretations of the characters, as well as the performers that have played the different characters. For some reason, I've been thinking a lot about Batman, the animated series back in the late 80s, maybe early 90s, the one that was sort of the Dark Knight comics, which then became sort of the inspiration for the Dark Knight movies. But even just, the elements that have been created in the DC universe, Gotham, Smallville, Metropolis, as places that live in our culture and our consciousness. And when we think about, I've just started making a list of all these characters. I was like, Supergirl, Catwoman, Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, Batgirl, Batwoman, Penguin, the Joker, the Riddler, Aquaman, the Flash, Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, Justice League, Green Arrow. It just goes on and on and on. And so it felt to me like it was time to bring this universe into ours as well. Teen Titans, the Green Lantern, just so many elements that have grown out of this universe and, continue to evolve. So that's why I thought it was time to bring them into the Hall of Fame.
This is a great choice. There's so many, like you said. I'm on a Wikipedia page listing all the television series based on DC comic publications, and it is amazing. Of course, I'm reminded it goes back to 1952 with The Adventures of Superman, that old black and white show that we've probably all seen bits of, and of course the Batman show that we loved from the 60s. But also, I'm reminded of the shows that we loved as kids. The Shazam show, Secrets of Isis, those are DC Comics-based live-action shows. The Flash from the 90s, all sorts of things on all the shows you talked about. And, of course, the animated shows. So just so much good stuff in here. And by the way, there's some adjacent shows that are from DC imprints that qualify too. iZombie, Lucifer, Preacher, those shows count. They're Dead Boy Detectives. That's technically a DC show too. So it's a big universe and definitely worthy of being in there.
Yeah, this is one, as you laid out pretty well there, Wendy, just with a quick summary. I mean, just the impact and the breadth of all of that. You can sometimes take it for granted because we tend to see shows that are focusing on one of those single characters without realizing that they're a piece of a much bigger puzzle. And all of that there and what it means to so many different folks who are fans of those characters or that universe. And Brent, as you mentioned too, when you look at the true scope of some of the additional stuff there, it's just amazing to look and see. So another excellent choice by looking at things on a broader scope than just single shows or a single person.
Yeah, and I was also thinking about the DC CW contribution to all this. Stargirl, the Flash, obviously Arrow. We have Constantine and Lucifer Morningstar are all part of this universe and continuity as well. So it's people sometimes, I think, often focus too much on Superman and Batman and and angst about those. And it's like there's so many interesting characters and places in addition to them. Although, we were talking earlier about the Tooner Minute and folks having, wishes for one of the wishes was to have a Batman that isn't so mopey, because we've definitely had that element, but it just seemed like there's a lot there that we can all appreciate.
Even The Watchmen, that show that was on HBO, that was based off the movie, which is based off of DC Comics.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Well, there's our thoughts for the Hall of Fame, folks. We'd love to hear you if you haven't already shared some thoughts in Discord or whatever on some of our choices, agree, disagree, or insights. This is always a fun aspect to do come the end of the calendar year, beginning of the next year. So appreciate those who took the time to give us some votes or thoughts and any other stuff you might have coming forward. So thank you very much for doing that.
Yes, indeed. And if I could vote for Star Blazers, I would give it a vote.
You can just induct it next time.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I can do that.
12 months from now.
I wrote it down
notes.
on my list. As well as 12 Monkeys, but I have to see what the timing is for that one.
All right, there we go. Looking ahead. All right, then. Closing us out here, since we're still at our water cooler, we've got a Tuner Minute to share. This is one I recorded that I called Why So Slow? For this Tuner Minute, I want to put the disclaimer right out front that I realize this might very much be along the lines of the get off my lawn approach to things. But I'm wondering, and I've been noticing, and I'm wondering if it is just in my little corner of the world, that in the last year or two especially, for a lot of shows, especially ones I haven't been watching when they first drop, but I seem interested in, so I ask, my co-hosts here or folks in our Discord community or just my social circles at large, hey, I'm interested in such and such a show. What do you think? The answers always seem to be coming back, or almost always coming back. It's good, but it's slow. Or it gets good after several episodes. So it just seems like more and more shows are not really trying to grab their viewers very early on, which to me, I always thought a lot of shows did that. Maybe this is the shift away from commercial television. Maybe it's just this generation's writers wanting to take the time to build some of these stories. But with hundreds of shows now available, I would think in order to keep them as viewers, you want to grab them early. But maybe viewership numbers are nowhere near as important as they used to be in the streaming world, so folks aren't worried about that. But it's just something I kind of caught my eye and was curious to hear what other people think along these lines. So what do you think? Why so slow?
Oh, Kevin. Yes, I agree. Things are slow. And I would have thought that the streaming services wouldn't want this, because it's like if I can pay for 6 episodes that are tight, well-constructed, and probably cost less than 10, and still attract the same new subscribers or retain the same amount that I'm trying to retain, why wouldn't I? I'm really curious why there hasn't been more pushback from the actual services, the Netflixes and the Apple Pluses, to say, hey, we want something that's going to hook people right away, because maybe there's some algorithm going on about, if there's your current subscriber and you have a choice between 6 different shows, that's good enough. We don't care that they're all slow. I don't know. It's befuddling to me. We were talking earlier about Severance. That's an example where, for me, it didn't grab me fast enough, and I'm still questioning whether I'm going to be interested in it and wanting to watch it. And, giving Brent the caution about Silo, season 1, which certainly has no reason to be slow to start, because it has 3 books to draw from. It's not like they don't know the plot of the show that they're making. Back in the old days when you're trying to start up a new show, think about Farscape. Farscape took, a few before they actually wrote themselves into the show that they were writing. But it doesn't seem like that's even the way television is prepared anymore. It seems like shows get bought and, the story has to be pretty well structured right from the beginning. So I don't understand why it's so slow, unless we're getting old and time is passing differently. But that's the only, I completely agree. So if you're telling everyone to get off your lawn, they got to get off mine too.
Yeah, get off my lawn. Yeah. No, I agree. I think this has a lot to do with you kind of hinted at this, Kevin, back in the days of the network, broadcast network, the big networks, and that was all you had. Shows had to bring in viewers right away. They had to. Back then, a show would be canceled in its first season after one episode sometimes, definitely after a couple. The networks would just cancel it. It's like, this isn't working for us. No, we're not done. We're not going to make any more. Of course, it was being made a little more, as the show was going on. They didn't have a lot of stuff in the can, like a whole season and stuff back then. But then when we switched to the streamers, it kind of took a different turn. And I think a lot of it has to do with the streamers saying, well, this is based on a well-known book property, like Expanse, for instance. This is based on like Sci-Fi Network. This is based on a really popular book series. So we're going to bring in all those book viewers and all the people who are interested in what the story is. And they don't really care that much about how the showrunner does their episodes, paces the episodes and tries to hook people in, because they figure it's based on a well-known property. So that's what we're paying for is the baggage that comes along with that, the fans and so forth. And it doesn't work a lot of times. A lot of times it fails because they aren't paying attention to that. And then, of course, you get and by the way, this is, I think, really inspired by Skeleton Crew, because Wendy and I love Skeleton Crew right now. We're really enjoying it. I don't know about love, but we're really enjoying it. And we encouraged Kevin to check it out, and he tried, but he said after the first couple episodes, it just didn't click for him. And I think that kind of inspired some of this. And yeah, but with Skeleton Crew, I agree. The first two episodes are kind of slow, but they're doing a Star Wars property. So they're like, we don't really care how well paced it is. Star Wars fans are going to come watch it. Well, some Star Wars fans, and Kevin considers himself one, I let him speak for himself, but he didn't buy into it because it just didn't click. It wasn't engaging enough for him in the first two episodes. So it does fail even when you have a big property that you're making the show for. So I totally with you. I just really wish people who've listened to our podcast for a long time know my mantra is pacing. Can't stand slow shows. We used to just drop shows after a couple of episodes if they were just too slow. And we sometimes still do that. But one thing I've done is if somebody says, or if I think that the show is going to be really good, or if I've latched onto one character but the show is really slow, is I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about the show that I was going to pick up, Silo, that I put it on in the background. I intentionally want to get to the good stuff. And so I don't suffer through the bad stuff, or to the slow stuff, I should say. So I tend to put it on in the background and do other things and just have it on like another monitor while I'm working on my computer or something, until it gets to the point where it's so engaging that I need to focus on it. And then I enjoy the ride. But that's something I've had to change to adapt to this new way of telling stories that seems to have forgotten the fact that you need to hook people in. The average person isn't going to do what I do. The average person is going to sit down and start watching an episode, and they may not even finish that episode if it's really boring or if it doesn't really hook them. I think showrunners really need to pay attention to that and start shifting back to that fear. And the fear is real. Like on Netflix, we know that if you don't get the views in 1 week, you're gone. They're not going to renew you. You got your season. That's the problem. I think that's the problem with Netflix's model, is we get all these one season shows, because Netflix says, okay, I'll pay for a whole season. And then when it doesn't work in the first week, they're like, I'm not buying anymore. Netflix, what you should do is say, I'm going to pay for the first 3 episodes. And if they don't work in the first week, you're gone. And don't give them any more money. Then they might actually start making shows that catch you and hook you in the first few episodes.
Yeah, well, first off, I feel good that both of you have very similar points of view. And it's been, as we know, Wendy, since you've had the Apple TV Plus subscription, you've mentioned several of these shows that have been good, but also almost every single one you've said, but also keep in mind it's slow or it's very slow starting. And again, that helps with expectations. I think, and you were nail on the head, Brent, in terms of the fact my recent experience with Skeleton Crew is what inspired this one, because, and we talked about it, as did others in social circles, that the trailers and info made it look like this could be basically geared towards kids, because kids were the focus of the cast. Could be, question mark. but it's still Star Wars. So yeah, I do like Star Wars. So I'm like, don't think it is, but it's at least Star Wars. Let me give a couple episodes. And those first couple, as you have confirmed, nope, not that great, slow, and I didn't engage, so I dropped. And now, based on quick reviews and other comments, it's certainly moved into a much better spot. But I'm like, I heard, I'm throwing my hands in the air like, why did you do that to me then? If you got good stuff, why not have started with some of that good stuff? So that's what made me start to think about the fact that maybe this is just a new model. You kind of touched on it with the Netflix, the idea that streamers will commit to a full season of a show, probably give showrunners a pretty good latitude of what they're trying to do. And a lot of them just have this belief that they need to build my universe or build my show rather than, truly attract or keep viewers. And then that's why you get the one and dones. So, it's just interesting. And, again, expectations will be interesting too for me because, as I said, I do plan to get an Apple TV Plus subscription soonish, and several of these shows are slow. So I'm curious once I start watching them, or even Severance, which I'm going to try on Roku. Will it keep me with that pace? I guess time will tell.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting though is I'll just stick with Apple Plus. There's some other shows that are not slow, and I'm thinking of Bad Sisters and Slow Horses, which are not genre shows. Maybe that's part of it, is because these showrunners have maybe more complicated worlds, more complicated visual effects components. They're given more latitude than they should be given because, as Brent was talking about that idea that, Netflix gave them all the money up front so they didn't force them to prove that they were telling the story in a proper way to really engage the audience. I started thinking about shows in the established universes that were, duds, like Moon Knight and the Nick Fury show and Iron Fist. And, would any of those have been made if they weren't already part of that franchise already? So it's almost like being part of a franchise is unfortunately making it easier for kind of the filler stuff to get in.
Yeah, it's interesting. And again, the Netflix model works for them, I think, as part of what they do push in some of their marketing stuff when they try to get subscribers is that, oh, don't worry, you'll get a full season of that show. May only be one season, but at least it's a full season. So apparently that works.
Right, but sometimes that season doesn't end properly. It could still end on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, no. That's why it's interesting to see how this develops. So if you have thoughts, folks, by all means, drop by the Discord or email, voicemail on this topic. We always love to hear it. All right, that was a chock full water cooler, especially with the Hall of Fame this episode, but we do still have several shows we want to talk about, so we're going to move over to our back porch.
Today we talk about Skeleton Crew, Doctor Who, Marvel's What If, Silo, and Star Trek Lower Decks.
First show up here, Brent's going to lead the discussion about what we were touching on, Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, Star Wars Skeleton Crew, and the last three episodes, I have to say, kind of blurred a little together to me, so I'm going to talk about them all as a big chunk. But, by the way, I still love 33, or Shmi, SM-33, the droid. He's hilarious, especially when he pops out of the hole with the jewels after our quote-unquote Jedi has told him to, attack, and he pops out, I come there, and he's immediately disabled. I love it. But the betrayal was very adult when Jude Law's character, I still can't remember his name because he has so many names, but when his character basically challenged Captain Fern, and he had no intention of killing her. He didn't want to kill her, but he basically ended up taking a knife to her throat and saying, yield, and I don't have to hurt you. And she finally did, which made him the new captain of the ship, at least as far as Shmi is concerned. And And of course, the kids do manage to escape, which sets up the final episode where the last one we've seen, I should say, where they go on a journey with different pairings. It's not the same two pairings that they've had throughout the whole show, and we learn a lot more about a lot of characters. And in fact, the one who's got the augments, and names I'm really bad at. Fern, I remember. But her augment, and we learned, that she basically had a bad accident, and her augments keep her alive and allow her to move. And there has to be some kind of emergency repair done, and she has to take faith in a new friend. And she's afraid that, if Fern ever finds out that she's not really capable of keeping up, that she's going to lose her best friend. And of course, he points out that it doesn't matter. You'll never have 0 friends again. Hence the name of the episode. There will always be your friend, and that makes her feel better, I'm sure. But I just love learning more about these characters in this one. And the action at the end was amazing, too. And the big, the machine, well, first of all, the crab trying to eat 2 of them. And then they escape with the help of the other 2. And the big garbage disposal machine chomping up the ship. And them pushing the button that they were told by Shmi never to push, that actually revealed that the ship had an outer ship. I kind of reminded of Star Trek in a bit, where Star Trek could separate the saucer section. And they pull out this sleek ship from the back that pulls away from the garbage disposal thing. And they fly off. That's ends that episode. But they know how to get back home now. So they might go back to Ad-Atten. But again, the pirates are on their way to Ad-Atten now. Thanks to Jude Law's character, basically pleading with them to, let him show them the riches of Ad-Atten, and his life is on the line now. But they're heading there. Potentially others might be heading there too, like maybe the New Republic. We don't know, but there's going to be some big showdown happening in the coming episode. I think there's 2 left, right? 7 and 8, maybe. There's going to be some big showdown happening. So. The show, like we just mentioned in the Tuner Minute, it did start out a little slow, but I think, starting in 3, it got a little better. 4 for sure, 5 and 6. It's just, this is a good show. I like this as a Star Wars show. Feels like real Star Wars. Doesn't feel like a kid show. The pacing is there. The mystery, the action, all of that. The characters. I'm loving it. So I'm looking forward to how it ends.
Yeah, The most recent episodes have been great because we had this, I'll call it brief moment where Jude Law's character, which I think his name is Jod, he seems to be, in alliance with them, but then we quickly get another betrayal. I love that SM-33 is such an unreliable droid, you never know what is going to happen with that thing because of how it's been programmed in the past. For me, this show is fun the way the Goonies is fun. And one of the behind the scenes, one of the showrunners even talked about being very much inspired by the Goonies. And in the most recent episode, when they're sliding through those chutes, that was taken right from the Goonies when the kids do a similar slide in the Goonies. But they captured that really well, where it's not for kids. It's about kids really empowering themselves, which is a lesson for anybody, not just kids. And the most recent episode with Fern and KB sort of fighting with each other about what to do, and the reason that they're fighting is because KB doesn't want to admit to Fern, that she's got these corrosion issues going on. And I think that KB as a character is really an interesting way to talk about people with different physical abilities and challenges. And, she's afraid that her only friend is going to leave her because maybe she is her friend because of her enhanced abilities and not just because of who she is underneath all that. And it was great to see how the pairings kind of split up with each other I actually like Neil a lot as a character. Ever since the episode where he was, talking to the young woman about, you guys only fight. It's like, you need to come up with a better solution than that. He's very compassionate and pragmatic. I like that a lot about him. And also when he has to take over the controls, when KB goes back to get the engine going, the crabs, the trash crabs, when, Wim is, let's follow the crabs. And then at the end, he's like, how come I'm always wrong about who's the good guy? The disappointment that they have when the X-Wings come and they don't see the kids on the beach. And when Jude Law's doing a great job of being this very mercurial and mysterious character. Once he's sort of surrounded by everybody and they have the little, equal time moment, and he starts singing that shanty song about the pirate whose ship they have stolen. It talks about at Atten, and that is actually, possibly true. That's where he ended up finally. So I like how they're bringing things together. I loved, as you mentioned, when the real ship gets peeled away from what is I would call a typical Star Wars kind of ship, where it's kind of ugly and clunky and looks, it doesn't look that great. But then when they peel off shed that one hull, then you have this beautiful, sleek ship that's just gorgeous that they fly off in. That was really, really cool too. It's surprised me how much I enjoy this show. And I think there are only 2 episodes left, and I'm going to be very curious what we learn about the adults at Atten by the end of this season.
Yeah. I want to point out one small thing. I believe KB and Fern were friends before KB's accident. You said that maybe she'd be a friend only because of her augments. I think she got her augments after they were already friends. And she's just concerned that Fern doesn't understand she has limitations now. And she doesn't want to let her know because she's afraid she won't be her friend anymore.
Yeah, no, I knew they were friends before, but she also relies on her a lot in terms of her augmentations now as her kind of partner.
True.
Well, it certainly sounds like it might be, worth going back to. I mean, and some interesting stuff and all. I guess I can use the Brent approach and kind of skim an episode and a half or so before it sounds like it might get there. So, I mean, not that there's a ton of other shows on right now. So it's interesting. That's why I'm glad we talk about these and folks give feedback, because after those first couple, I was like, there's no point in me continuing. So apparently there is.
Yeah, for me, I want to say by the end of the 3rd episode, I was like, there's more here than I thought there was. And I'm getting interested in the characters.
Yeah.
And by 4, I was definitely interested.
Yeah. Skim it. Yeah, definitely. Don't be afraid. I think you should consume it, whether you consume it by skimming, like I've done sometimes on shows where I just want to know what the highlights are. But whatever you do, I think you should at least consume it to some degree.
All right. Good to know. All right. As we mentioned earlier in the podcast, we had the Doctor Who Christmas special here. So Wendy's going to lead that discussion.
Yeah, so this Doctor Who, at first I was like, what is going on? But then we have this concept of a time hotel, and people basically go on time travel trips, and it starts off with a bit of a misdirect and this sort of trope of the Doctor keeps opening a door and he's asking whoever is on the other side if they had a pumpkin latte and something, as if he's like the room service, which was very interesting because it's a time hotel, so they know what you're going to order. So as soon as you think about what you're going to order, it arrives, which is really good service. I like that. But the doctor also notices, that something's wrong. There's a guy with a briefcase. It turns out that there's aliens who are basically slowly working themselves, upgrading the aliens that they inhabit through the hotel, trying to find someone powerful enough to basically boot up a star, essentially. And as part of the doctor solving this problem, and he's separated now from Ruby Rose, she's gone off to bond with her newly identified biological mother. So he's on his own. And he runs into himself in one of these rooms who tells him, hey, you're going to have to stay here for a while. And one of the things that he has to do is make a friend. And he makes a friend out of this woman who works at the hotel. And I don't remember her name, but it was a lovely montage of them bonding, playing games together and working together. And Brent had mentioned hoping that she might become the companion. It's certainly a character I would love to see back again with Doctor Who. And one of the people in the rooms he meets is this woman named Joy, who has a fairly sad story. Her mother was in hospital during COVID lockdown, and she wasn't able to be with her on the day that she actually passed away. And the room that she's in is also the same hotel room that the doctor lives in for a year. And eventually the doctor is able to sort of separate the alien from Joy. But ultimately, Joy decides to go on the mission of booting up this star. And they did a really good job of showing how she is a character, but also all the other people that this entity had passed through had a positive experience when they were sort of seeing what the possibility was like to, quote, be a star. And it was a beautiful Christmas message that at the end of this story, this is the Christmas star that her mother sees in her dying moment, and that, this is timey-wimey. So it's also the star that appeared in Bethlehem, when Jesus was born. So I liked how they approached this whole scenario and turned it into a very sweet story. But, it started out, I would say, very Doctor Who-ish in terms of the repetition of, working your way through what's the problem. And it also was nice to see the doctor kind of going through his own emotions and some evolution. I don't really want the doctor to be mopey and sad, but if he's going to be mopey and sad, doing it with a friend is always a good way to go for me. So I really thought it was sweet, and I really enjoyed it.
Yes, I agree with you. Like I said many times on this podcast so far, I went into this with low expectations, just because the first season on Disney Plus I didn't think was the greatest, but I actually really enjoyed this. And there's a lot of great Easter eggs in this too that I've watched some other people on YouTube point out. Like, for instance, the last name of the character of Joy in another language translates to the world. So she's Joy to the World is her full name, which I thought was great. But the whole, and by the way, this other person on YouTube that I saw also pointed out that 2 doctors were present at the birth of Christ in Bethlehem at the same time, because David Tennant, I believe he was the one when he was a doctor, mentioned in one episode casually that he was there at the birth of Christ. He took the last room at the inn, which forced them to be in the barn or whatever, in the manger. So there were 2 doctors at the same time watching all of that event, which is not supposed to happen from Doctor Who lore. You're not supposed to be there at the same time with yourself, but apparently if you're far enough away, it doesn't matter. But that was wonderful. Wonderful ending to tie up this episode. And yeah, the timey-wimey stuff at the beginning really had me kind of like thinking, this is good Doctor Who. This is Doctor Who of old, opening all the doors saying, do you want the cheese toasties and the pumpkin latte? Nope, not you. Okay, next. Because he's just basically, and then we find out he's going to all the doors trying to figure out, where this person is. So I love that part so much. And the tie back of have the friend, I really wanted that, basically became a best mate in a year. And we've had the Doctor have, mates, best mates, friends. When he's had to stay, Matt Smith did it once. With the one that had the kid, and now we've got it here too. And I did really wish that she could have been a companion, but apparently she got offered a job to go into management because the manager is dead, unfortunately, because he was one of the ones that had to carry the case. They needed a new manager, and she's got a lot of experience, so I came highly recommended from the Doctor, and I thought that was great. But yeah, there's a good chance that we'll see her again. I hope so. Russell T. Davies does a really good job of bringing characters back. He doesn't like have one-off characters a lot. He tends to bring them back. So does Moffat when he was running the show. But yeah, so there's a good chance we'll see her again, and I hope so because I still think she'd make a great companion. She seems like a perfect match. She has good chemistry. So it was a good show. I liked it.
Yeah, I think for me, this is, as we talk often, expectations. I think maybe I came in just kind of at that time, wanting to have a really good Christmas special and maybe expecting a little more. Because I did enjoy, I enjoyed kind of the fun setup with the Time Hotel and then the time with the Doctor and the manager. And then that just ended and we went to Joy, it seemed like. And that just seemed a little, I don't know, jarring, and it was just okay. I don't know. That's expectations. It's not like I didn't enjoy it or hated it or whatever. It just was kind of okay. It was, a Christmas special, and certainly the emotional part of becoming the star and all that. I mean, they did a good job of matching it to the season, but I don't know. I just kind of had hoped there'd be a little more there than there was. So it was some stuff to enjoy, and it kind of went out of my head pretty quick after.
I hear you. I was also, I think I've mentioned this before, I often like to watch the old Doctor Who Christmas specials around Christmas. And I wasn't able to do that before I watched this one. I watched them afterwards. And, I think that was probably a good thing because it probably didn't raise my expectations too high. Not that I had low ones, but I didn't really have expectations going in.
Interesting. All right. Moving on, we had the entire drop of season 3 of What If, and Brent's going to lead that discussion.
Yeah, and I don't know if Wendy has the same thoughts I did, but I love the fact that as I did do reactions to these on my channel. They haven't all been posted yet, but I did react to them all. And in those reactions, I was talking about how season 1 and season 2 both had seemingly standalone episodes that kind of built into some sort of overall story at the end. So I was imagining season 3 would be the same thing. So as we were going along each episode, I was like, okay, what's going to tie into the finale? What's going to tie into the finale? I didn't know how all of them would tie in, but one thing I did want to have tie in was the great episode with one of my favorite characters, Darcy, and Howard the Duck, and their child, that they named Birdie at the end. And I was so pleased to see a grown-up Birdie in the finale, in the 2-part finale, helping out on the team that I'm christening the Guardians of the Universe, of the Multiverse. Guardians of the Multiverse seems to be what this team is now, with our Watcher, who has a name now, kind of as the leader of this group, because they've lost Captain Carter in this great sacrifice that actually made me tear up. I was thinking about, what she said about, and I'm starting to do it again, but how, I'm not losing any more friends, and her just charging at the boss Watchers and sacrificing herself basically to send them to Doctor Strange's created universe that we saw from the end of season 2, which I thought was another great tie-in because they keep bringing these back. And we have Kahori from, the Native American character that they introduced. She's in this group. And she is just amazing. I really want to see her in live action MCU. I want her brought into live action so badly. I kind of want to see Birdie now too. But we have Storm, Goddess of Thunder, at the end as well in this group. And before they helped the Watcher, they were already a Guardians of the Multiverse, it appears. They already, including some of the others from the end of season 1, I think, from the end of season 1, that team that helped defeat the Infinite Ultron was a team that was part of this original Guardians of the Multiverse, and some of them have been lost along the way. You saw that scene with Carter was holding the photograph with Black Widow and some others who had been lost, and that's when she's committed herself to not losing any more friends. And so I love how they've now become the ultimate Guardians of the Multiverse, with the Watcher powers and all the enhanced powers from the Watcher, because they're all technically Watchers now. And they've managed to convince the leadership, I think, that they should try it differently. They shouldn't try it just don't just observe, don't just watch, but try to help. Help universes become better. As the Watcher said, if we help the universes survive, then there's more stuff for us to watch. Because he's kind of taking this almost fourth wall kind of meta the persona of us. If the universe is in, then there's nothing to watch. We want to watch more stuff. Come on. So I love how he convinced them to do that. And then he seemed to have a team he formed with Kahori, Storm, Birdie, and himself. And I love how they send off Carter's shield reforms. They send it off to somewhere, and they ask him, is there something beyond this? And he's like, I don't know. Some questions you don't answer. And I love how they finished the series, Wendy, by having him in dialogue basically say the opening to the show and saying it in a very fitting way. And it really clicked. I just love this finale. I love this whole show. All 3 seasons have been a lot of fun. There are some standalone episodes that have nothing to do with anything else at all. And by the way, I love the one a couple before, where we got the new Hawkeye, and Shang-Chi, and in the Old West. I love that so much. Kate Bishop, and of course Haley Steinfeld was able to voice Kate Bishop here too. I don't know if that'll get Kevin to watch that one episode, but one of his favorite voice actors now was in there again. So that was really cool. But yeah, I dug it. And it was a very emotional ending, very action packed. Just really good. I highly recommend this to anybody who in any way likes Marvel stuff or superhero stuff or just action.
Yeah, this was really good. I love Peggy Carter. I loved the whole Captain Carter that they introduced in this show, and that, she considers the Watcher her friend. That's why she's so tenacious about all of this. And it's also why the boss Watcher considers her such a threat, because, our Watcher has been basically so connected to Captain Carter, but other humans, they kind of go through a litany of people he interfered with. And so I loved that, she jumps into the fray. That is Captain Carter. I often think of her as like the human Wonder Woman, right? She has she does as Captain Carter have special powers, but as Agent Carter, which is how I always think of her originating, she doesn't, but she has that same, dogged commitment to, doing what's right and, her friends and sacrifice. And I just loved everything about that. And I, of course, want a glimmer of hope that maybe she's transformed into something else that we might see again in the future. Who knows? You mentioned Birdie, and that was a very fun episode with the birth of Birdie. And I love Nick Fury in that episode. He was so funny. It actually
Fury out.
Yes, it made me so angry that Nick Fury show was so bad, because I want that Nick Fury to have another show. The other couple that I wanted to give props to, you mentioned the Old West one. I loved that Agatha Goes to Hollywood episode. That was so fun for me. I love that time period within the Marvel characters, and, you know, Howard and Jarvis, and that was a ton of fun. And of course, you know, there's always the question of what is Agatha going to do every time she powers up. The other one I really enjoyed was the Winter Soldier and the Red Star. I'm forgetting his actual character name. Red Guardian. That one was really fun as well. But as you mentioned, in terms of the bigger continuity of the Watchers and now having the Guardian Watchers of the multiverse, I would totally watch that if they decided to create something out of that in the future. You know, going back to that Howard the Duck episode when we had, you know, Loki offering them to stay. And I loved how at the end, Darcy's like, well, normally I would love a free vacation hotel, but you know, there's no place like home. And then, you know, they're doing the classic parent things of, you know, trying to tiptoe out of the baby's room and then obsessing about what it is that's making the baby cry. So, yeah, it was really a good run, and I probably will go back and watch it again. I watched it all the way through, and I kind of want to go and watch them a little bit slower on the second time.
Yeah, I might watch them again too, because I remember the Agatha one where she becomes a celestial at the end, like a super celestial, and I'm like, oh, that's got to tie into the final episode, right? And no, we never saw her again. So
yeah. I was expecting when they did start talking about celestials that she would come back.
I expected Loki as well, because the end of season 2 showed Loki on the or his, you know, his time tree, his world tree, where he formed the tree. They showed that at the very end of season 2 when the Watcher had brought Captain Carter in as a friend and confidant. And I'm also surprised that Carter told the other members of the Guardians of the Multiverse all about him, and they all knew.
Yeah. Yep. Good stuff.
Excellent. All right. Still got some more shows to talk about. We'll move on now. Wendy will lead us in for recent episodes of Silo.
Yeah, so at this point in Silo, we now have the bottom in insurrection mode, sort of. We have the mayor trying to cover up everything he's doing. And we have Juliet in the other silo. And I knew that the Solo character was going to not be trustable. He's not trustable. He's been lying about who he is. He wants her to fix their silo, get this pump working that's submerged. And, you know, so the stakes are definitely raised on that side because she's essentially trapped there. And in our main silo, the folks in the bottom are trying to figure out how to survive. They're lucky enough to capture the level where the food is grown, so they're not going to starve. But then, of course, there's still traitors and spies everywhere because people have family members who might be up in the medical level, and they're, you know, can be arm twisted into helping the top side. So there's a plot to poison all the food supply of the lower level. And one of the people who the judge had actually sentenced to go to the mines, the mayor knows that he has technology skills, so he actually makes him his second in command. So he now gets to see behind the curtain and know everything that's going on. And he gets tasked by the mayor to figure out what happened, what's really going on in the silo, and help with this mystery of Daniel Quinn, who he created a cipher, and this guy is actually trying to figure out how to resolve the cipher and what really happened to their culture. Because basically, the silo was built like 300 years ago. They have a bunch of artifacts, but they don't really know how they got there, what happened. So there's a lot of elements all coming together now, and we still have a couple more episodes left. Juliet has now seemingly gotten the pump working so that the silo that's flooding maybe won't flood. But unfortunately, there's also more people in this silo than she thought about. She gets shot with an arrow by one of them, and we'll see what happens next with her. So for me, season 2, I mentioned there's plot right from the jump because, they finally in season 1 laid enough of the table and explained the mystery and the characters that are involved so that, we really can start moving through story for everybody. And there's a lot going on between our insurgents coming up from the bottom, the former head of the police, who is now the judge, who is played by Common, and these different factions. And Silo does something that other shows that have sort of a power politics dynamic going on don't do nearly as well. So we have people scheming, but they're also doing stuff at the same time. So it's not just people in a room talking. They're actually trying to solve problems, and their political motivations are part of how they try to solve the problem. So it isn't just scheming. It's scheming about things that actually drive plot. So that's something that I find very appealing about the story, and I'm definitely invested in and rooting for a lot of the characters, not just our main lead.
Yeah, definitely sounds like some interesting aspects. So when I get a chance to get a subscription again and can get caught up, and unless it also goes to Roku free, sounds like it's going to be worth the time. Appreciate you keeping us posted.
Yeah, no, I've definitely been enjoying it, and I know folks in Discord have been talking about it too, so I'm not the only one.
Cool.
All right, finishing us out for show discussions this episode, we're going to let Brent start the discussion for the series finale for Star Trek Lower Decks.
Yeah, and it's probably going to be a very brief discussion because all I really wanted to say was, God, I love this show and I'm going to miss it so much. This, again, animated, but as a Star Trek fan, I so appreciate this show because it touches on so much lore and there's so many references that it hits on, and it's so funny. And the crossover to live action, that at least Kevin got to see that. Got to see some of the two of our characters in live action. But the four main characters are so good as characters. They're so heartwarming. I love Tendi. I've said that many times, my favorite character, and I love her arc in this, from wanting to be not just an Orion, but a scientist. She wants to be a really good scientist, and her being science buddies with the Vulcan as well. Was amazing, and I loved in the finale where they did kind of the anime thing, science buddies or whatever they did. Then they came up with a solution, but not wanting to be a pirate, but having to go back to her home world earlier and take over her family and all of that stuff, and lead her family and stuff was fun too. But and then at the end, her and Rutherford, who've had this close friendship that and I can't remember the Vulcan's name, Wendy, but she pointed out at the end, she said, I didn't know there was a romantic relationship between you and after he took off his implants, and he's like, what? No, we're just good. Or Tandy said, no, we're just good friends. apparently, maybe Rutherford really is romantically attracted to Tendi, but Tendi's just like, yeah, we're really good friends. But when he had his implants on, he didn't know, or he suppressed it. He suppressed the emotions with the implants, but now it's coming out. So I thought that's great. Shows some potential development in their relationship moving forward as well. But just so much. And now they have this. They've set up it. All of the Lower Decks is canon. The people who run Star Trek now said so. So they have set up a portal to multiple universes in Star Trek that is monitored by that old rundown starbase, and our captain has taken over. So gosh, man, if you're a Star Trek fan, even if you don't really like animation, you gotta watch this show. It's so much fun.
It is so much fun. There's so many fun nods to the other Star Trek characters. Mariner, Boimler definitely become not just sort of underachievers, which we started out with, but at the end, they really have evolved as characters. So it's not just, rinse, repeat comedy. There's actual development of the characters. And you talked about Rutherford and Tendi. I really liked that, he took out his implant and he sort of got confident. And there was that one really fun moment when they both, like, if I'm remembering right, they like jump in the air and high five about science. And that's just so Star Trek nerdy, It's just great. And they left us with this whole idea of these alternate worlds that are, not kind of blocked off, but maybe not blocked off that well. And I loved how they resolved sort of the trajectory of the characters. It kind of reminds me of Star Trek, how the Star Trek Next Generation, how it didn't really move them in a large way, but we see their trajectory that they're on and that they're evolving. And it was just so much fun. I really do highly recommend this show. If you're even, I would say an average Star Trek fan, I would think you would enjoy it, even if animation isn't always your bag. And there's some things that are just so funny. I mean, the Doctor is so funny, and the engineer is so funny. I can't say enough good things about it.
Great show. Gonna miss it.
Yes.
All right. Well, that will finish us out for this episode. Nice long one. Been a while since we've gone this long, but between several shows, some news, and certainly the Hall of Fame, we had a lot to cover. So I know I enjoyed it. It was great getting to talk to Wendy and Brent, and hope you folks enjoyed. Great way to kick off 2025. So we appreciate it, folks, and we hope you all take care.
Yeah, it's great to be back. Happy New Year, and we'll see you soon.
Looking forward to a great year, folks, and catch you next time.
We'd love to hear our listeners voice thoughts and send us feedback. Call us at 706-927-8478. Stop by our tuningintoscifitv.com blog to record a SpeakPipe message, or check the show notes and leave us comments. From the blog, you can also find links to forum discussions and subscribe to our RSS feed. Call into our Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV Skype account and leave us a message. Be social with us on our Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV Facebook page, or follow us at Tuning Into Sci-Fi on Twitter.
The theme music for Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV is by Beatnik Turtle, used with permission. You've been listening to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, episode 665, recorded January 4th, 2025.